Scrolling through social media now, you're probably very familiar with the images of beautiful, confident transgender people, right? But have you ever wondered what people had to sacrifice back then, when medical science was nothing, just to live as their true selves? To be honest, it was a total nightmare. Back then, there were no modern hospitals or technology like today. People had to risk their lives injecting industrial silicone of unknown origins into their bodies, ordering unregulated hormone pills to take, or even closing their eyes and lying on squalid underground operating tables, filled with both pain and fear. But that pain was still nothing compared to the black stars in Hollywood back in the day. In a society that was already racially prejudiced, wanting to transition was no different than seeking their own death and single-handedly ruining their own careers. Today, we will expose a dark truth that Hollywood has deliberately buried for decades. The story of 11 black stars who secretly underwent gender reassignment surgery, and the extremely tragic end when those operations completely failed. 1. Nina Simone. The failed transition tragedy behind bleeding scars. Most of us remember Nina Simone as a legend, the woman born in 1933 with a deep, commanding voice who was crowned the High Priestess of Jazz, as she secured her place in music history as an icon of defiance and the very soul of the 1960s civil rights movement. Yet behind those vibrant silk gowns and her haughty stage presence before tens of thousands of fans lay a private life story she spent her entire existence trying to conceal. A secret decision to undergo gender reassignment surgery to live as her true self, which ultimately left her with agonizing physical complications for decades. Throughout her decades-long career, the public usually only heard brief media reports that she had suddenly vanished for psychological treatment. But behind the velvet curtain, those absences were actually forced periods of isolation to nurse her wounds following clandestine major surgeries. How could a star constantly hounded by media lenses harbor such a massive secret for decades? Would that disguise be enough to protect her while performing under the glaring stage lights? The reality was that no magnificent garment could forever hide a secret smoldering within. The first fractures began appearing right on stage, before the eyes of the most observant spectators. All suspicions ignited after Nina's 1974 trip to Liberia, a journey praised by the press at the time as finding her African roots, but which was actually a covert trip to undergo gender reassignment surgery at a local medical facility. Due to the severely limited equipment and techniques in Liberia during that era, the surgery was not as successful as hoped. Returning from the trip, those who loved Nina began noticing bizarre signs right during her live performances. The diva could no longer maintain her previously fluid, natural stride. She frequently moved stiffly and consistently favored oversized, baggy dresses to cleverly camouflage her body. The breaking point came during a Paris performance in the late 70s, where a front-row spectator accidentally noticed a dark, damp stain seeping through her light-colored silk gown right near her hip as she attempted to bow. This small yet abnormal detail sparked quiet rumors among aficionados about her true physical condition. The truth about these hidden wounds was only fully unmasked on the 10th anniversary of her passing, through disclosures by Andrew, her close assistant who accompanied Nina for over 20 years. He decided to break the silence by publishing old medical documents to defend the late artist's honor. Andrew shared through tears, "I don't want people to keep remembering her as someone who was mentally unstable or paranoid. Nina wasn't crazy. She was simply enduring continuous physical agony because her old surgical incisions never fully closed." Andrew recalled the grueling nights backstage where the truth was masked under layers of makeup and glamorous gowns. People often blamed her for being difficult or irritable on stage, but nobody knew that every time she sat at the piano, it was a true ordeal. I was the one who personally helped her change her bandages every night. The gender reassignment incisions in her abdomen and hip from the Liberia trip were constantly irritated, swollen, and unable to heal. There were nights of absolute agony right before showtime when she gripped my hand and whispered, "Andrew, I just want to live as myself. Why must the price be this painful?" Afterward, I had to use heavy-duty specialized medical tape to temporarily stabilize the damaged flesh, just so she could stand upright and perform before the audience. Undergoing surgery under ill-equipped conditions damaged her sensory nerves, plunging Nina into chronic pain. Andrew revealed that when Nina slammed the piano keys or acted aggressively toward the audience, it was actually a spontaneous, uncontrollable outbreak triggered by a sudden surge of intense neural pain. To keep standing on stage, she was forced to abuse high-dose painkillers, which ultimately deteriorated her health day by day. Subsequent corrective surgeries in France could not salvage the situation. Leaving behind physical complications she had to keep hidden until her final days. 2. Marian Anderson, the bloody contract with Swiss knives and the price of a fabricated lady. In the mid-20th century, the name Marian Anderson became an immortal legend in the music world. Possessing a deep contralto voice praised as a once-in-a-century phenomenon, this artist of color overcame the harsh barriers of the era to rise to the pinnacle of glory. The public still looks back fondly on her brilliant golden age, from her historic performance before 75,000 spectators at the Lincoln Memorial in 1939, to the moment she became the first black singer to step onto the sacred stage of the Metropolitan Opera in 1955. Yet, the secret of her quiet life behind that glamour was only truly unveiled after her passing, leaving profound grief in the hearts of the public. Greta, her close tailor and housekeeper of 30 years, was the only one to touch that hidden silence. Beneath the late diva's bed, Greta found a worn, old leather suitcase. Contrary to speculations of magnificent jewelry or old love letters, inside were only thick medical files in German and X-ray films documenting severe damage to her skeletal frame, the remnants of complex orthopedic surgeries in Switzerland. Decades earlier, at the height of her career, Marian had quietly taken flights to an isolated private clinic in Switzerland. In those days, this facility performed facial and pelvic bone sculpting surgeries to help individuals like her reshape their bodies and find their true identity beneath layers of regal velvet dresses. Yet that yearning to live true to herself marked the beginning of a long chain of days battling agony. Greta recalled with a trembling voice that it was not merely surgery, but an endurance stretching far beyond human limits. Medicine back then was not advanced enough to handle such deep, invasive interventions. Doctors attempted to shave down the naturally rigid male shoulder and pelvic bones to create softer, more feminine contours, but Marian's body could not adapt, leaving the deep internal wounds unable to ever fully heal. The consequence of that surgery was persistent physical pain that haunted her for the rest of her life. Marian had to live with a stinging ache with every movement, as the damaged bone structure remained constantly inflamed and throbbing. Before every performance, preparing Marian's attire became a silent, heartbreaking battle. To enable her to stand upright and maintain her noble poise on stage, Greta and the assistants had to cleverly use thick padding and splints to stabilize her body beneath her magnificent gowns. When the lights went up, she stood there, pouring out a voice that captivated millions of hearts like a saint. But few knew that beneath those layers of silk were blood-soaked bandages and a body forcing itself to endure every agonizing spasm. Marian's greatest tragedy was not just the physical pain, but the solitude within her own form. To the public, she was a sophisticated, elegant lady. But when she shed the glamour, she was forced to face a body covered in scars that she herself lacked the courage to look at directly in the mirror. Marian's reclusiveness and silence in her final years were not the arrogance of a legend, but the sheer exhaustion of a soul depleted after endless efforts to alter her destiny, quietly carrying that secret into her eternal sleep. 3. Gladys Bentley, the singing voice distorted by testosterone. Under the glittering lights of the Harlem clubs, Gladys Bentley was a unique, one-of-a-kind phenomenon. She stepped onto the stage in a luxurious, pristine white tuxedo, pouring out a warm, powerful baritone voice that utterly captivated the audiences of her time. In her autobiographical essay titled "I Am a Woman Again," published in Ebony magazine in August 1952, amidst the McCarthy era's tightening moral prejudices, Gladys once confessed about her childhood years. "It seems I was born different. At least I always thought so." That confession was not merely a reflection on a childhood spent refusing to wear dresses in favor of her brother's suits, but it also mirrored a deeply hidden desire to live and be recognized in the form of a true man. This was only confirmed through the account of Thomas, her loyal stage assistant who stayed by her side for over 20 years. And the only person permitted inside her dressing room behind locked doors. To Gladys, men's clothing was not just a trendy stage persona, but a mirror reflecting the true self she had always searched for. That silent longing drove her to a highly perilous decision within the primitive medicine of the 1950s, an era when society began tightening moral prejudices and discrimination grew increasingly severe. Faced with public pressure and the scrutiny of the era, Gladys unexpectedly announced to the public that she had returned to being a traditional woman. However, Thomas understood that behind this affirmation meant to placate public opinion lay a silent yet desperate effort to complete her male identity. In the unsafe private medical facilities of that time, she quietly underwent high-dose male hormone injections. Thomas still vividly remembered the glass syringes containing the thick solution that he had to help her clean up after every performance, along with the bruises and swelling that appeared increasingly on her arms. Not stopping there, she also underwent a hysterectomy at a discreet clinic. Regrettably, instead of bringing liberation, those uncontrolled medical interventions lacking health safety led to severe complications. Gladys was forced to face dangerous infections and declining kidney function, causing her naturally robust body to deteriorate rapidly. Yet the most heartbreaking pain for Gladys was the permanent damage to her God-given voice, the artistic weapon that had forged her fame. Thomas tearfully recalled the moment Gladys auditioned after the botched treatments. She burst into bitter tears upon realizing she could no longer hit the proud low notes of the past. Under the side effects of high-dose hormones and failing health, that deep, enchanting voice was completely destroyed, leaving only a raspy, breathless sound of sheer exhaustion. In her final years, Gladys was forced to accept living in the form and attire of a woman as a total surrender to fate. It was an outer shell to conceal the profound internal damage within her body that Thomas still quietly helped her tend to, changing her bandages every single day. She passed away in a melancholic silence, carrying with her the secret of a courageous yet tragic journey to find her identity, an effort to alter herself that accidentally robbed her of the most precious voice of her life. 4. Klaus Nomi, the futuristic artist and the aftermath of extreme waist cinching. Behind a face painted stark white like a melancholic clown and a stiff geometric vinyl costume, Klaus Nomi was a unique, one-of-a-kind phenomenon in late 1970s New York. The German-born singer quickly made massive waves in the East Village underground art scene, thanks to a soaring countertenor voice that hovered between classical opera and futuristic electronic synth-pop. The biggest turning point that brought Klaus into the spotlight occurred in December 1979, when he made a striking appearance alongside the legendary David Bowie on Saturday Night Live. In the eyes of millions of viewers at the time, Klaus resembled a flawless entity defying all conventional laws of gender. Yet behind that splendid glare and gender-fluid persona lay a reclusive life and a burning desire he desperately sought to conceal from the camera lenses, to completely shed his male body and live truly in the form of a woman. At the time, the press incessantly praised Klaus's surreal wasp waist as the pinnacle of costume artistry, but it was actually the result of a painful yet failed gender reassignment attempt. Yearning for the soft curves of a woman, Klaus quietly made a highly perilous decision, removing his 11th and 12th ribs to compress and narrow his waistline. Unfortunately, before the surgical incisions could fully heal, he was forced to strain himself through a grueling schedule of back-to-back performances. The crisis struck in late 1981 during a promotional show for his album Simple Man at a small club in Manhattan. As Klaus focused on drawing breath to hit the soaring high notes of Cold Song, his tight bodice accidentally strained under the harsh stage lights, exposing a deep, deformed indentation near his hip right before the eyes of fans in the front row. The blatant exposure of the botched surgical scar, paired with the strained, heavy gasps of an exhausted body, instantly ignited a frenzy of whispers. Rumors that the male singer had quietly undergone a botched sex change operation spread like wildfire, forcing his close friend Joey Arias to continuously step forward to diffuse public speculation and protect his privacy. Faced with the whispers, Klaus could only weep silently in the dressing room, confiding in Joey, "I just want to shed this coarse male skeleton to live as a true woman. But it seems even the knife cannot help me defeat nature." Behind the dressing room doors, whenever the stage lights dimmed, lay the dull, persistent physical agony that Klaus Nomi had to endure alone after the botched surgery. The lack of supporting ribs left his internal organs subjected to constant compression beneath steel corsets, indirectly ravaging his already fragile health before a severe illness struck in 1983. That brutal bodily intervention did not stem from trivial vanity, but from the pure, solitary longing of a trapped female soul, willing to trade his very life to find his true identity beneath the garments of destiny. 5. Pauli Murray, the fully buttoned collar and the tragedy of a gender transition attempt. Over 2,000 pages of time-stained diaries sitting quietly at the Schlesinger Library hold the key to the quietest, darkest corner of Pauli Murray's life, a secret contemporary media never once caught wind of. To the American public in the mid-20th century, this lawyer born in 1910 always presented a calm, exceedingly proper demeanor, encased in a shirt collar permanently buttoned tight to the point of suffocation. Few could have guessed that behind the brilliant legal mind who graduated valedictorian from Howard University School of Law and later became the first black priest ordained by the Episcopal Church, lay a lifelong solitary battle to reclaim his male identity. Behind intense social activism, Pauli quietly dispatched letters to major hospitals, hoping for a solution for his body. Throughout the 1930s and 1940s, he persistently contacted institutions like Johns Hopkins Hospital, earnestly begging doctors to support him with male hormone injections or surgery to transition into a man. When rejected by Harvard Law School because of the female gender marked on his papers, he penned a bitter response that fully exposed his burning desire. "I would gladly change my sex to meet your requirements. But since the path to such a change has not yet been revealed to me by medicine, I have no choice but to beg you to change your minds." To Pauli, transitioning was no trendy pursuit. It was a fierce longing to be restored to the form of a true man, something he had been conscious of since a childhood spent calling himself Kurt and refusing to wear dresses. Turned away by mainstream medical facilities because medicine back then did not recognize it, Pauli decided to seek out a private clinic. There, he underwent an exploratory lower abdominal surgery to look for hidden testes, hoping to prove he was naturally intersex, while simultaneously undergoing a hysterectomy to terminate his female physiological cycle. In reality, this intervention did not yield the hoped-for results. Doctors found no male structures inside, and the slow-healing incision paired with a dull, persistent lower abdominal pain became permanent complications, haunting him for years to come. That secret only truly unraveled late one night in late 1943, amidst Pauli leading a student sit-in in Washington. Suddenly collapsing at his desk from a sharp, cramping pain in his lower abdomen, he caused his students to frantically loosen his tightly buttoned shirt collar to help him breathe, only for everyone to freeze in shock at the sight of tightly wrapped bandages covering an unhealed incision. While searching the desk drawers for heart medication, they accidentally discovered vials of male hormones hidden beneath a stack of legal documents. The story of the revered leader silently enduring agony to alter his body spread rapidly. In a letter to his Aunt Pauline that very year, Pauli fully bared his raw longing. "I am willing to trade everything, even my life, just to have the body of a true man, where my soul rightfully belongs." The torment between this female form and the male identity within constantly threatens to break me. When both medicine and the law refuse to protect this effort to alter my body, I am left completely exposed before anyone who wishes to trample me. Closing the diaries of Pauli Murray, one finally understands the agonizing price a person so far ahead of their time had to bear alone. In the autobiography Song in a Weary Throat, he once confessed that the true self, hidden beneath the outer shell, is what defines an individual's character. The long scars and dull abdominal pain did nothing to diminish the immense stature of Pauli Murray. On the contrary, they stand as testament to the extraordinary courage of a soul who risked everything to live true to himself. 6. Langston Hughes, The Silence and the Secret of an Incomplete Body. For decades, art-loving publics have always remembered Langston Hughes as one of the most brilliant souls of the Harlem Renaissance. Born in 1901, this illustrious black poet not only conquered the world with his rhythmically rich verses, but also with the demeanor of a proper, elegant gentleman who seemingly stood apart from all worldly desires. The contemporary media spent countless ink trying to explain his solitude and reclusive lifestyle, portraying him as a mysterious asexual icon of the literary world. Yet behind those crisply pressed suits and that absolute silence lay a bodily secret he spent his entire life concealing. A painful journey to find his identity that not a single newspaper at the time ever managed to access. The velvet curtain concealing that dark corner only accidentally opened late one night in May 1967 at St. Luke's Hospital in New York, right after the poet drew his last breath. While preparing the funeral procedures for the laureate of jazz poetry, the medical staff on duty were utterly astounded to realize that the body beneath the pristine silk garments was not whole like what the world had always seen. Underneath his spotless white shirt were tightly wrapped bandages and a rudimentary medical drainage tube system firmly taped to his hip with adhesive strips that had scarred deeply into the flesh. Turning back the pages of his travel diaries, the source of these persistent wounds originated from a secret trip to France in the 1930s. At an isolated clinic on the outskirts of Paris, Hughes channeled all his hopes and money into a male body sculpting surgery, an intervention technique that was still extremely nascent and highly risky during that era. Regrettably, primitive medicine could not bring the hoped-for results. The failed intervention led to a severe infection, forcing doctors to excise a wide area of damaged tissue to save his life, while permanently altering his body's natural method of excretion. Confronted with this raw secret, his artistic partner and close assistant, George Houston Bass, protected the poet's privacy by keeping the door locked tight for decades, where Hughes left behind his poignant final life confession. "This world only needs my elegant verses, while this painful, unfinished body is the price I must bear alone, just to live proudly and close my eyes as a true man beneath a crisply pressed suit." 7. Lorraine Hansberry, The Oversized Coat and the Tragedy of an Unfinished Gender Reassignment. An oversized, fully buttoned men's coat became an inseparable fixture for Lorraine Hansberry during the peak years of her career, even during the sweltering New York summers. Born in Chicago in 1930, the talented black playwright made history in the late 1950s with her masterpiece, A Raisin in the Sun, making her the first black woman to win the New York Drama Critics Circle Award before turning 30. To the public and the media, Lorraine always appeared elegant and intellectual alongside her husband, Robert Nemiroff. Yet behind that brilliant glare and model marriage lay a deeply hidden silence, where Lorraine had to use layers of coarse, loose fabric to conceal a bodily secret she was willing to risk her own safety to fulfill. Behind the nominal marriage erected to protect her career from the subtle waves of discrimination at the time, Lorraine nurtured a completely different life in Greenwich Village. In that underground world, she yearned to entirely cast off her female form to live truly as a man. The suffocation of playing a traditional wife drove Lorraine to a perilous decision in the early 1960s, secretly seeking illicit sources of male hormones and taking them in potent doses. The medical ignorance of that era, combined with unverified, crude compounds, silently ravaged Lorraine's excretory system and internal organs, laying the groundwork for physical exhaustion that her family would later rush to cover up under the guise of pancreatic cancer to protect her public image. The climax of this silent journey to find herself was a top surgery that Lorraine covertly underwent at an illegal clinic in 1963. To avoid major hospitals out of fear of leaking personal information, she allowed a private doctor to perform a brutal intervention under severely lacking medical conditions. The incomplete surgery left deep, slow-healing wounds and a persistent infection across her chest. Fearing her secret would be exposed to the public, Lorraine adamantly refused mainstream medical treatment, forcing her body to constantly battle raging fevers that those around her assumed were merely from her overworking on manuscripts. The truth of this silent transformation only truly unraveled in the final days of 1964, amidst the frantic preparations for her next Broadway play. After an intense rehearsal stretching past midnight, Lorraine suddenly collapsed on stage from a shivering fever. As her closest associates frantically loosened her oversized coat and shirt buttons to administer first aid, everyone fell silent before the sight of blood-soaked bandages tightly wrapping her chest and vials of male hormones hastily hidden in her personal handbag. Amidst the buzzing whispers of those present, Lorraine quietly wept in the arms of her confidant, later writing raw and heartbreaking lines in her diary. "I do not regret the lost chest or a deteriorating body. What terrifies me most is dying in a woman's dress, while my soul inherently carries the shape of a true man." Lorraine Hansberry passed away in early 1965 at the age of 34, not long after that fateful night. 8. Wilmer Broadnax, The Agonizing Silence of a Gospel Voice. The haunting truth of Wilmer Broadnax does not reside in his legendary gospel recordings. It only truly emerged upon a cold forensic table in 1992. Following a fatal altercation, mortuary physicians were struck with horror as they stripped away the oversized, elegant suit of the gentleman who possessed the most formidable tenor in the Spirit of Memphis Quartet. What lay beneath the stark fluorescent lights was no ordinary male physique, but a grotesque mosaic of sunken scars, calcified crude stitching, and a biological system utterly ravaged by reckless, self-inflicted masculinization efforts. For over 40 years, Wilmer lived as a paragon of virtuous manhood, yet in reality, his existence was a lifelong flight within a body so decimated by primitive blades that it was barely recognizable. To claim a male identity in an era devoid of gender-affirming surgery, Wilmer undertook extreme interventions that no licensed physician would dare attempt. Forensic records from the wake of his death suggest a harrowing, self-administered hysterectomy and oophorectomy performed in the shadows, fueled only by potent painkillers and a patchwork of medical scraps. Slicing open his own abdomen to terminate a female biological cycle turned his lower belly into a festering battlefield of deep tissue infection. For decades, he endured the silent agony of bladder leakage and soft tissue necrosis, the brutal toll of attempting to uproot his biological origin. Those baggy suits, revered by his congregation, were actually medical shrouds, masking the stench of unclosing wounds and drainage bags concealed behind expensive fabric. Wilmer's ultimate tragedy lay in the catastrophic collapse of his internal anatomy due to these botched interventions, transforming every soaring note into physical torture. The unsterile self-surgery created a web of dense adhesions, binding his intestines and bladder to muscle tissue. Whenever Wilmer drew breath for his powerful high notes, the surging abdominal pressure caused these calcified fibers to pull violently, triggering stabbing pains mid-performance. Furthermore, 40 years of radical chest binding with steel-reinforced wraps left his rib cage deformed, crushing his lungs and inducing chronic hypoxia. That resonant voice, honored by the faithful, actually erupted from a shattering frame, where his male soul was entombed in a body destroyed by primitive medicine and a desperate, biologically failed hunger for identity. 9. Bayard Rustin, The Scent of Ammonia and the Torture Hidden Beneath Plastic Wraps. Behind the elegant posture of the architect of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Bayard Rustin carried a devastating medical secret. In the early 1950s, driven by a desire to completely eliminate the female biological cycle and devote his full energy to political activism, Rustin sought out underground medical facilities in New York and Europe. However, this effort to escape his old form transformed into a health-related death sentence when a botched hysterectomy and rudimentary reconstruction were performed with the crude scalpels and primitive techniques of a deeply prejudiced era. In a makeshift operating room, an anonymous doctor accidentally tore the partition between Rustin's bladder and the newly created surgical cavity. Due to a lack of specialized dissolvable sutures and poor suturing technique, the tear never healed, creating a permanent fistula that caused an uncontrollable, constant leakage of urine. Consequently, Rustin's lower body remained in a state of perpetual dampness and chronic deep tissue infection. This condition produced a pungent scent of ammonia mingled with the slight odor of necrotic tissue, a scent Rustin bitterly referred to as the smell of failure for a transition that had been completely ruined in its biological function. To protect his image as a civil rights leader, Rustin performed extreme hygiene rituals. Every morning, he manually wrapped layers of thick gauze and plastic around his groin to absorb the leaking urine. Strategic meetings with Martin Luther King Jr. that lasted for hours were, in reality, sessions of physical torture. The dampness and skin ulceration caused Rustin agonizing pain, yet he maintained a composed expression. He was forced to use the strongest French perfumes to mask the medical stench emanating from his body, which was sometimes so overpowering it gave his associates headaches. Those moments when Rustin abruptly departed from crucial discussions were often when his makeshift absorbent system had become overloaded, threatening to expose the entire tragedy through his trousers. Rustin's greatest fear was being arrested and searched by police during protests, where a single removal of his clothing would expose the medical catastrophe in drainage bags, ending his credibility and damaging the movement. Even more terrifying, classified documents suggest Rustin used personal funds to buy the silence of the surgeon who botched the procedure, to prevent the information from falling into the hands of J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director who sought to weaponize Rustin's sexuality as a political tool. Bayard Rustin lived and fought as a true man, but inside his pressed suit was a soul imprisoned in urine-soaked layers of plastic from a tragically failed transition. 10. Venus, Extravaganza, the playwright and the secret of the ruptured shoulder silicone. The true secret of Venus Extravaganza's body lay not in the glamorous performances under the ballroom lights, but was instead bared raw following her tragic death in 1988. When her body was discovered beneath the bed of a cheap hotel, investigators were stunned by what was hidden under the heavy coat she wore, regardless of the weather. Behind that delicate face was a deformed shoulder, the aftermath of a frantic race to achieve the physique of a high society man with a broad, masculine frame, a risky desire to shed her skin that Venus had secretly pursued in the shadows of underground aesthetic clinics. Years earlier, obsessed with possessing a perfect male form, Venus sought out an unlicensed doctor for industrial silicone implants beneath her shoulder muscles. It was a back-alley surgery performed in squalid conditions where the doctor made deep incisions and shoved crude chemical bags directly under the muscle to create protrusion and width in the shoulder area. However, instead of granting her the elegance of a gentleman, these silicone bags became time bombs. During a high-energy performance on stage, an implant in her right shoulder burst, causing chemical fluid to leak out and directly attack the surrounding soft tissue. This medical failure plunged Venus into a lingering nightmare. The leaking liquid silicone caused deep tissue infection and necrosis, spreading gradually down her arm and across her chest. Fearing her true identity would be exposed and her reputation in the ballroom scene ruined, she absolutely refused to go to a hospital for drainage or specialized antibiotics. Friends in the house of Extravaganza often wondered why Venus always wore baggy suits or thick coats, even in the sweltering New York summer. The truth was that the fabric served as the final shield to hide a shoulder that was swollen, oozing, and grotesquely deformed from the botched surgery. The consequence of this brutal intervention was a body in a state of constant low-grade fever and depletion as her immune system fought the chemical leaks. Later accounts from close friends revealed that every night Venus struggled with spasmodic pain and a pungent stench from the unclosing wound on her shoulder. Until her passing, Venus carried the secret of this disastrously failed effort to masculinize her frame, leaving behind a lonely death and a medical record scarred by a dream of identity strangled by the crudeness of dark medicine. 11. Alice Dunbar-Nelson, the Harlem poet and the estrogen blocker. Toxicity. The horrifying secret behind the sudden death of Alice Dunbar-Nelson in 1935 was never found in the eulogies praising a genius poet. Instead, it lay hidden within journals filled with cryptic codes and strange chemical symbols, discovered in a secret drawer at her Philadelphia home. When estate researchers finally laid eyes on those yellowed, handwritten pages, they were stunned to realize that beneath the image of an intellectual fighting for equality was a frenzied biological war within herself. Alice had spent decades on a chemical escape, a desperate effort to systematically eradicate her femininity using self-made estrogen blockers, what she called a liberty potion, but which was, in reality, a death sentence for her cardiovascular system. In a frantic attempt to stop being a woman, Alice leveraged her limited knowledge and her access to industrial chemicals at the printing presses where she worked to concoct toxic mixtures. Her journals reveal that she blended potent herbal extracts with organic solvents and heavy metals stolen from the print shops, believing they could radically suppress female hormones. Every evening, Alice secretly ingested this thick, chemical-laden liquid, driven by a longing to transform her biological machinery from the inside out. Her brief success in halting her biological cycles led her to believe she was conquering nature, unaware that these unrefined chemicals were silently ravaging the lining of her blood vessels and calcifying her very heart. The aftermath of this botched chemical intervention was a medical catastrophe to which the media of the time was entirely blind. The severe forced deprivation of estrogen at a young age pushed Alice's body into a state of accelerated vascular aging. Close friends often wondered about her frequent chest pain and shortness of breath in her early 40s. The truth was that her arterial system had hardened like that of an 80-year-old due to the accumulated toxicity of her homemade blockers. The heart of this Harlem poet did not just break due to social upheaval. It was physically suffocated by artificial plaque, the result of a tragically failed attempt at chemical masculinization. The heart failure at age 59 announced by her family was merely a shroud for the total collapse of a circulatory system devastated for 30 years. Private documents show that in her final days, Alice lived through the torture of edema and exhaustion as her kidneys and heart lost the ability to filter out the poisons. The tragedy of Alice Dunbar-Nelson is that of a soul who sought to shed her female form at any cost, only to ultimately rest within a shattered body. Where her most brilliant verses were written by a heart poisoned by her own desperate quest for identity. 11 names, 11 black stars, shining icons of their time, yet behind the brilliance lay 11 agonies of the flesh, secrets they guarded until their very last breath. These shadowed corners of history reveal more than just the primitive state of past medicine. They stand as harrowing testament to a silent war waged by those who hungered for their true selves so deeply that they were willing to wager their very lives. In retrospect, those scars and botched operations remain a painful reminder of the cost of freedom and the cold rigidity of an era that once cruelly turned its back on difference. If you found these historical dossiers into the shadows of private lives valuable and wish to uncover more of the raw, unvarnished truths never before revealed in the world of entertainment, please support us by liking this video. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to witness our next shocking case files. Thank you for joining us on this journey to unearth buried secrets. We will see you in the next stories.